Welcome. As you all know, I'm Kelley Keehn. I'm your host for today for the first Women's Roundtable discussion. So I'm really excited to have all of you. Thank you for being with me.
And we're excited to be here. For sure.
Thank you.
Great.
Delighted.
So it's estimated that women at some point will oversee 90% of the wealth, yet the financial services industry still really focuses and caters to men. So by design, choice, or circumstance, women have some really critical decisions to make when it comes to their financial life. If it's, surviving a spouse, divorce, a business, maybe a sale of it. And if she doesn't have a solid financial footing, she could be at risk to a lot of different vulnerabilities. So that's why I'm so thrilled to have a very diverse group of women at this table today to teach us and teach the women watching this, what are the top things that they need to know when they're coming into a lot of money. So I'm so excited to hear from all of you. And I'd like to thank our sponsor, ETF Capital Management, and the founders, Larry Berman and Jared Rabinowitz, for making this discussion possible. So thank you all for being here. Today we have Mary Aiken, founder and managing director of the Verity Club. Thank you. Jane Rooney, the financial literacy leader of Canada with the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada. Cynthia Kett, principal of advice-only financial planning firm Stewart & Kett. And Rose Reisman, author and caterer of Rose Reisman Catering. Robin Graham, managing director of wealth management and associate portfolio manager at ETF Capital Management. And Joanne Stewart, partner at Learners, specializing in family law. As we go into 2016, still discussing the differences between men and women and what are the barriers that women face financially and why.
One of the barriers I would see as Canada's financial literacy leader is the lack of financial literacy. Financial literacy means having knowledge, skills, confidence to ask the right questions so that you make the right decision around a financial product and service. So I think that one of the barriers is lack of financial literacy. The great thing is lots of information exists out there.
I'd just like to add, though, that there is a lot of information out there, but a lot of my clients, female clients, have said to me, it's overwhelming and it's often conflicting, and you don't know whether it's biased information, and they feel sometimes intimidated by advisors that they speak to.
I think a lot of women, and for people generally, money is a really emotional topic. And there's more to money than just the money. And within relationships and outside the relationships, there's a balance of power that flows with the money. So he or she who makes more may have more power. But sometimes if you're the woman, given the way roles have been over the last, I don't know how many years, and you're the one making more money, the balance of power can't be exercised because the gentleman who you may be with doesn't appreciate you exercising that power. So there are all kinds of struggles around it.
It might take another generation until that's really incorporated into our children's lives even.
I think so.
It might be a topic of discussion in 25 years.
Right. And then with the fact that women on average live 16 years longer than men, this is a conversation that we have to have.
I think at the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, we're a federal government agency, so the information we provide is unbiased. People can come to our website or call our call center and get a little bit more information. But I think that one of the key issues for women is to get more confident, gain a little bit of trust, and know what questions to ask of a financial professional.
I think women have to realize that it's not only in their best interest, but in the best interest of their family to know something about money. And so become comfortable by at least being at the table when those discussions are happening, and persist in asking questions. Don't be intimidated. Just, if you don't understand, just keep at it until you get an answer that makes sense to you.
And just because men have been the ones that traditionally have been managing the money, that doesn't mean that has to be the status quo moving forward. What does the table find? Is that still the status quo?
I think that we're seeing things change, but it's going to take a long time. And I think in terms of our financial literacy, if we don't build programs for young girls in the schools, how are they going to know? So certainly my generation, we were never given a lot of financial information, and unless we studied it in further development in our careers. So I think that it's like all things. It's moving in the right direction, but it's taking time.
That's overdue. You know, I've been in the investment management business for 30 years, but I didn't know anything about it when I graduated from university. I'd never been really introduced to it. There was no such thing as a financial course at my high school.
When women know or have some anticipation of coming into a lot of money from a divorce, from the sale of either her business or her spouse's business, are they planning for this in advance? Are they thinking maybe an inheritance, or are they just going to wing it when it happens?
Inheritances are a big thing now. And what we see a lot of, if a woman's going to inherit a lot of money and she has any kind of support system in an advice sense, that woman typically will go see a lawyer and say, what am I going to do?
Right.
Maybe, how can I protect this? Not that the marriage is going to end, but just what should I do if I want to be a little bit cautious? What if I want to leave it to my kids? What if my husband leaves? I don't want him to get a chunk of it. And so that woman will hear what a lawyer has to say. We 9 times out of 10, if there's a lot of money, recommend that the person see an accountant as well, so there can be some tax planning, maybe a tax lawyer. And then a big question we have are people that say to me, who will I go to? Who will help me invest?
Well, I think women are planning ahead when they have knowledge of the life event that's going to happen to them. Certainly, when we're meeting with investors, more and more often the couples are coming in together. The woman doesn't always say as much as the man, but she's listening, and you know that she's an active participant in that discussion and in that decision. And they will talk about things that their age differences, for example, the fact that they need a financial plan, and he wants to look after her when he's gone. And those types of things do come up in the investment discussion when we're structuring the portfolio for them.
Now, from the 2 ladies that are joining us that aren't necessarily in the industry in any way, shape, or form, or were, how would you go about, what method would you go about of finding somebody that you trust?
Well, I always laugh because when I started my own company of catering, and I must say I went back to school, I got an MBA, but I never understood financial accounting. And I think people can relate to it just the same way I understand food and the importance of good health. People don't always click into it. But my husband said to me, you can't be good at everything. And he said, you'll be the brand, you'll be the marketing, you'll do this. You'll pick someone very good to help you financially. And that's actually what I've done, because it was not my expertise, and we all have our expertise. So I know when you say, you've got to ask, you've got to do, if it's not who you are, it's just like I can scream at people and say, why aren't you exercising every day? Why aren't you eating healthier? I can yell it at the top of my lungs, it's not who they are. So I always I'm careful about that, because it's from my head, it's like it's so easy to eat well and exercise every day, and I don't understand it. So I think we have to allow people to say it's just not what they do, but look for someone who is good.
And in shopping around, the numbers are estimated around 70 to 75%. When a woman is with her spouse, when that spouse passes away, she leaves to another financial advisor, planner, what have you. Why wait? Why is she leaving, first of all, and why wait? I'll open that up to the table.
Because usually, I think if the husband did most of the talking or most of the communication, then the relationship would really be with him. And it could well be that when you were saying that the women sit there and they're listening but not talking, they might agree or disagree and just keep it to themselves, because in the overall it's not worth it. So if they have an opportunity to start fresh and have the ear of the person they're speaking with, I think most would. And then they could start new patterns too, new trends, and do what they want to do instead of being stuck with the old.
Right.
Even though the old might have been fine.
Right. Right. Cynthia, do you?
And I think that's a lesson to be learned by a lot of financial advisors. If you want to retain the business, then you'd better engage both parties and make sure that you're hearing both sides and emphasizing, well, what do you think, or what's important to you, or what are your concerns? They don't have to lose the business, but if they start thinking about that now, the Canadian public will be better served, but also they might retain the client.
Well, I think it also goes to sort of the intimidation factor. If women don't know a lot about money, they don't want to speak up and look stupid. And I think when they're left to make the decisions, they are going to go somewhere else because they want someone to understand their dreams.
I think men and women are looking for different things when they look for that financial advisor in the first place, and you're quite right. The woman may not have been well served, but maybe didn't say anything about it. Now is an opportunity to customize it to her
And then
needs.
also, I know with my husband, he was definitely more risky. than I would have been. I would say, no, I was saying no to everything. And not good, but his personality was more aggressive, and I probably wouldn't have made those same decisions.
You know, another transition, which would be a major one, actually, is divorce. And I have to say, a lot of conversations in closed rooms that some men have had with me are that women always fare very well in a divorce, and that they have not. I'm hearing stories across Canada where it's often the stories that I hear that it's a working woman, and she just, for whatever reason, doesn't even want to go and talk to a lawyer. Is just walking away 100%. And not engaging at all. So what's the rest of the table finding for that?
Well, I wonder if that has to do with the family values that women have. Women don't want to drag children into a messy divorce. So why don't I just walk away? I'll somehow find a way to support the children, but I won't have to drag them through some terrible mess that will be part of their psyche going forward as parents themselves.
Well, I think this is another great example of just how much society and culture has changed in the last generation, or even half a generation, where there was a time not that long ago where a woman wouldn't even think about divorce because she couldn't survive on her own. And today's woman is so empowered through career opportunities and legal justice and other issues that she can now consider that as an option in her life. And so are they planning for it? Yes, I think they are, if they have that freedom. And we certainly do help them. In the past, I've had other situations where a divorce has happened and the woman has come to me shell-shocked. Looking for help, doesn't trust anyone, doesn't trust men, doesn't trust the financial system, but has to go to someone and would rather deal with a female in that situation.
So talking about, when a woman's coming into money, especially like an inheritance, maybe that wasn't expected. There's a lot of stats and research on lottery winners, for example, and that within 5 years, 44% of them have spent everything, and I've heard even higher. So I wonder, is it possible that type of mentality might happen as well, that there's this windfall, and especially if it's the result of the death of a loved one, perhaps parents that scrimped and saved, that there might be some emotional issues there in addition to the financial aspect that needs to be addressed?
In my experience, women are pretty cautious with money, and particularly trickle-down family money. If mom and dad earn the money, then the women aren't going to blow it 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
At least that's my experience. They really want to keep it, and if they have kids, it's to go to the next generation. So they'll use a little bit of it, but really it's about the kids, and then the grandchildren, and somebody might have to get educated, and there's all of these things that go on. So I actually, in 30-some years, I can't think of anybody who blew the money.
And what about men? You're mentioning women.
Men blow the money. They do, because they feel they're going to make more. If they make money, they think they can make more money.
One of the biggest fears women have is outliving the money.
Yeah.
And so it really doesn't matter what the source of the money is, whether it's inheritance, a lottery win, or selling a business or whatever. They're very conscious of the fact that statistically we're going to live a long life. And we may live a long life, but along the way we may become unwell and might need long-term care or something. And so, for many women, I would say probably all the women I've spoken to who are clients of mine, their biggest fear is outliving the money. And so they're naturally thinking, okay, this has got to get me from here to there. How do I plan for that?
I also wanted to add that I think one of the biggest risks women have is they are possibly too conservative, because they are interested in capital preservation and retaining that nest egg and that inheritance for their children and grandchildren. And sometimes what we see is when they get a hold of the money, they become too conservative with it. And of course, in this environment, you need balance in your life, you need balance in your portfolio as well.
Do you feel that women are stepping up to the plate when they actually, as you kind of alluded to earlier, are that those dollars are within their direction, or are they deferring to others?
I'm still seeing in my generation they're deferring to others. So I would tend to go either to a family member that I trust, a friend that I trust, and I have friends in the financial world and who have been friends for, again, 30 years. So again, you're going to someone that you trust and you know is interested in yours. So that's what I would do. That's what my peers are doing.
The difficulty with dealing with somebody who's a family member or a close friend in terms of advice is if things don't go so well, then it really does influence and affect that relationship. And so I do encourage people to consider using objective third-party advisors for that reason.
So different transitions as we're talking about, we have information on that. We also have a financial literacy program for adults called Your Financial Toolkit. It's got a great module about investing. It includes questions to ask and, exactly to your point, how to shop around, if you will, for a financial planner or a financial advisor, a financial professional. And there are websites that have listings of people who've had complaints against them. So search to find out if someone you're interviewing has had a complaint against them. Find out if they are a certified financial planner. So the Financial Planning Standards Council has a list. IROC, the Investment Industry Regulatory Organization of Canada, has a list, and that's where the complaints would be housed. Your Canadian Securities Administrators, so securities commissions across Canada. Those are really good, unbiased sources of information to help you shop around. Use the questions that you'll find on FCAC's website and find someone that you can trust.
What other barriers are women facing? Lack of time, as you probably hear the same for putting your health up there, putting our money up there is often the same thing. So what are women actually holding themselves back that maybe they need to in 2016 say, I'm going to start putting that at the top of the to-do list?
It's like that January resolution, that we all say we're going to do and actually start to do the task, schedule it, and make it a priority.
So I think that the internet can be very empowering in those areas.
If for younger people, if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe even your 60s, you're going to go out and get the information today that you need.
Right.
But if you're older than that, and these are still a lot of where the wealth is centered and where these life events are happening, they're not as comfortable with the internet yet.
Right, but that's also where the children step in, right?
Yes.
Children step in and help them.
Ideally.
And that's
Sometimes with the amount of information available on the internet, whether you're rural or urban, the problem can be, I think about our gender, is it's analysis paralysis. The more information we have, it's mind-blowing, which goes back to the central point of who do you go to and the importance of where you go and who you go. Because left to our own devices, we can sometimes put all that information together and then freeze.
That's a very valid point.
Not everything on the internet's truthful either.
Exactly. And it's not that face, that connection.
And face, the person can't say the words.
At the end of the day, relationship is going to trump all. I mean, if
I
you
agree.
have to develop a bond with someone, and you can really only do that face to face with them, I think. So the internet's great, and the telephone will get you a lot further, but ultimately they're going to want to sit down with you, I think, eventually. If you're talking about somebody's all their money.
We will have all of this listed on the website, and really all of the resources and gems and nuggets and advice that you've given us here today. It'll all be listed on our website. I want to thank all of you for sharing your time and your expertise on how we can empower women to, be competent but also be more confident in stepping up to the financial table.